Does the Pakistani Muslim community in Britain need to do more to prevent and condemn rape gangs? It's been exposed that there have been Pakistani grooming gangs in around 50 towns and cities across the UK. People know it's still going on, including Jess Phillips, who, in a former life, actually admitted it.
We're a year on from the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse. Years and years worth of evidence. Rishi Sunak is doing nothing. And today, exactly what happened in Rochdale is happening in every single part of our country.
I look at cases like Quarry Ralph, a former taxi driver and preacher, who was jailed for 6 years but was released after just serving 2 years and 6 months. He is back living in Rochdale and works apparently as a takeaway delivery driver, meaning that he could end up delivering food to one of his victims. Does that seem to you like the local Pakistani Muslim community have told him he's not welcome there? Maybe they have. Our reporter Charlie Peters has been in Rotherham today. We're going to hear from him very shortly. A town where 1 in every 73 Pakistani Muslim men were prosecuted for child grooming offences, apparently. And nobody seemed to want to talk to him.
But we've not been able to speak to a single person. In about an hour's time, we've spent around the town centre speaking to dozens of people off camera. Most of them have said that they don't want to speak to us at all. One man, I have to say a white man, spoke to me about 5 minutes ago. He said that if you put your head above the parapet on this issue, you're going to get shot. He was very nervous. He didn't want to give his name. He said he wouldn't go on camera. He wouldn't even go anonymously to speak about this issue. There's a lot of nervousness in this town.
The Muslim Council of Britain, via their group, the Centre for Media Monitoring, released a report criticising GB News and myself personally for talking about so-called grooming gangs. You can see on your screens there, so-called grooming gangs. Is that not one of the major Muslim organisations in Britain appearing to question the reality of these gangs? Does that seem to you like they're desperate to address the issue? The group has said that they will support a national inquiry provided it follows evidence rather than prejudice. Now, people will say that there are a load of members of the Muslim community who do call this stuff out. Now, fair enough. But as Jordan Peterson alluded to, should we not be hearing a little bit more from them?
You talk about moderate Muslims. Like, I looked up the polling data today that Winston Marshall, for example, referred to when he interviewed Nigel Farage. And, you know, it's about 3/4 of UK Muslims would be perfectly content if Sharia law happened to be the, what would you say, the principle of the day for the UK as a whole. And that it would be fine if Islam became the national religion. Now, that's 75%. So, you know, a cynic would say, OK, just exactly where the hell are these moderates?
And the Labour Party's definition of Islamophobia, which they put in their 2019 manifesto, put, quotes, grooming gangs in inverted commas, there you go, and suggested that using the term in relation to Muslims was racist. The Muslim Vote organisation, which was a hugely influential political movement at the last election, demanded that Labour adopt that definition. The definition would have meant that, for example, right now, we would be accused of being Islamophobic for having this very conversation. Does that seem to you like the Muslim Vote organisation is desperate for the epidemic of Pakistani Muslim rape gangs to be discussed and addressed? Look, I can understand why normal, law-abiding, moderate Muslims would say, well, why do we have to call it out? We've not done anything wrong, and I really do get that. But if this was going on at this scale and making as many headlines as it is now, wouldn't you want to do everything you possibly could to be seen to be addressing it and stamping it out? So let's have that conversation then. Does the Pakistani Muslim community here in Britain need to do more to tackle the rape gangs? I'm joined now by GB News national reporter Charlie Peters in Rotherham. Charlie, thank you very much, mate. Great stuff that you've been doing for us for literally ever, actually. But you were in Rotherham today, and you didn't seem to see that there was a demand, a clamour for people to be coming out and talking about this stuff. Why not?
That's right, Patrick, and I've noticed that over several years when covering this scandal. I want to cast our minds back to September at Sheffield Crown Court when 6 men were in the dock, all British Pakistanis, being sentenced for gang raping an 11-year-old girl. They got between them 106 years, and as each of them were sentenced, their families in the public gallery were outraged. I remember seeing their relatives slamming the doors as they left the gallery, the judge having to ask them to remain calm. All too often, when covering this scandal, we've found evidence that there is a sense of clannishness, which means that perpetrators, when they finish their jail sentences, which are often extremely short, they are welcomed back into their community. There is no sense of community punishment. There isn't a great sense, I can tell, of shame about this issue. It often seems to be more one of denial. And that's what we found, I think, today on the streets of Rotherham, as we have so many times when looking into this issue. People just not wanting to speak about it. People saying they didn't want to hear about it. A direct quote I heard from one woman, in fact, who was being approached by GB News to ask for comment on the vote last night. She wouldn't talk about it. She didn't want to hear it. And that's a crisis that we've had, Patrick, because this scandal, it's been going on for decades. It's been a conspiracy of murmuring for so long, but now those murmurs are becoming roars as more and more people wake up to the nationwide atrocity that is the grooming gang scandal. The over 50 different towns and cities that this broadcaster has found in its lengthy investigations into this issue, and that has put significant pressure on the Labour government tonight. Earlier this afternoon, Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Manchester, he broke with Sir Keir Starmer's 3-line whip and his very direct approach to this issue by saying that he would support a limited national inquiry. We've gone to the Greater Manchester Combined Authority to ask for clarification on what limited is, because a lot of survivors have heard that term and thought, no, we want a proper review. And then also earlier this evening, we revealed that Khalid Mahmood, a former Labour MP, himself from the British Pakistani community, is also calling for a national public inquiry to get to the bottom of what caused this crisis and what more can be done to fix it.
Charlie, thank you very, very much. And a little bit later on, we are going to be hearing again from Charlie Peters out there for us in Rotherham, because we've actually got an exclusive poll to bring to you at 10 p.m. And that is about the percentage of people in Britain who wanted an inquiry and the percentage of people in Britain who would like to see the perpetrators of these rape gangs actually deported. What I can reveal for you is that it's massively out of kilter with what the Labour Party appears to think people want. But let's get the thoughts of my panel now. Former Conservative MP Anna Firth. We're also joined by Tory peer Lord Bailey and former Labour Party advisor Matthew Larsler. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, all of you. And I'll start with you. Do you think that the British Pakistani community should be doing a bit more to either clamp down or call out grooming gangs?
Quite possibly, Patrick, but the person I know should have done more was Keir Starmer yesterday. And as a mother myself, with daughters, I am absolutely appalled. He was given the option by Kemi Badenoch to call a national inquiry, and then, of course, she would withdraw her amendment. He didn't accept it, and he has let down victims and parents and families up and down the country. And I hope very much we're going to see a U-turn on this. It's very interesting that we are now seeing Labour MPs and ex-Labour MPs like the Mayor of Manchester, Andy Burnham, coming out and saying what we all want to see is another...
Well, later on at 10 p.m, we've got Barry Gardner on. Now, he actually voted against this inquiry, so I think it'd be quite interesting to hear from him on that, won't it? Why? Actually, Sean, just keeping it cultural, as it were, for now. So why do you think that some people, like myself maybe, we feel as though maybe elements of the British Pakistani community could be doing a bit more? We look at people like Quarry Ralph there, who's just gone home, hasn't he, in Rochdale, after committing all these crimes, working as a delivery driver. Does that imply something there, maybe?
I'd have to say, no, they shouldn't be doing it, actually. That's what we have the police for. Imagine this was, I don't know, a load of white council workers. We wouldn't expect the community to look after them. What's interesting to me here and why I believe we need a national inquiry is why didn't the police do it? We must not be distracted by the idea that we have to change the law. It was illegal now and it was illegal then. It has always been illegal. We have to understand why people covered it up and why the police couldn't get forward, didn't have the bravery to step forward on the front foot. I spoke to a copper, right, has nothing to do with this, he's a London-based copper, and he said to me, Sean, if you went into the office, right, and said something that you thought would risk your livelihood, would you do it? It's your family versus theirs. We need to give the police the political support in order to have these very difficult and tricky conversations, and that's what we're not doing. National inquiry, absolutely. Why? Because we've let down victims, we've let down communities, and we've let down the country. We must help the Pakistani community feel free. If you're law-abiding Pakistani man, like most of them are, you don't want people looking at you sideways. The only way to avoid that is to have this...
Yes,
and
exactly.
Don't forget the Pakistani women in all of this.
Exactly.
Nor will we forget that Kemi Badenoch had 8 years, Anna, 8 years, including as the Minister for Children, and she didn't mention the issue once from the dispatch box, but she's jumped on the bandwagon now, hasn't she? Well done. You might get reselected, Anna. You might get reselected because you're parroting the Tory line.
Hold on a minute. You may not have been you almost certainly wouldn't have been at the Tory party conference, but I was. She stood...
8 years when she was the Minister, when our taxes were paying for her to be the Minister for Children, and she didn't mention it once, Anna. Not once.
A few months ago when she was standing...
It's outrageous the Tories jumping on the bandwagon. Outrageous.
Can I just finish this point?
Go on.
14 years.
To be the Tory leader, she made a very powerful speech on the conference stage in which she specifically called
the
out...
British people paid for her to be the Minister for Children and Families, and she didn't mention it once. And you know that. You're too ashamed to mention it.
It's come up now. She has taken the action which...
Sorry, it wasn't an issue 10 years ago. It was hilarious. Come off it, Anna.
When she was speaking to be the Tory...
When she was the Minister, she ignored it.
Okay.
Very clearly.
When she was the Minister, she ignored it.
I'll tell you someone who didn't ignore it, Jess Phillips. And she made an awful lot of critical comments about people at the time who could have done something. She is the Minister. She actually has the power to do something.
And we're implementing the 18...
I believed her. I really believed her. And I hope she does implement something. And let's be clear, it was the Tories who brought in the task force that led to 550...
I know you're both active members of the Conservative Party, OK? Yeah, OK. No, hang on, Patrick. Let me just say this, because it's absolutely clear. You're saying she's doing nothing. This government is implementing every single one of the recommendations of the Alexis J report, which was the point. Let me... Anna, can I speak?
Well, you interrupted.
No, I didn't interrupt you in your first contribution. I interrupted you afterwards. I didn't in your first contribution, Anna.
You don't think we need a review specifically into Pakistani rape gangs? Is that your position?
I think... So, first of all, we need to challenge this. The 18 recommendations of the J report, because we can have all the reviews we like, Patrick.
All but two were being actioned. All but two were being actioned, Matthew.
Let him talk. Go on.
Right. We can have all the reviews we like, OK? But if the recommendations aren't implemented, they mean nothing. No. The Tories didn't implement a single one of the 18 recommendations from the £200 million inquiry that we had. They need to happen. But I agree with Sean that Sean is absolutely right. We need to empower people like local police officers to ensure that they can have those conversations. On the issue of another £200 million national inquiry where nothing's done, no.
Stop on that, actually, because what I want to drill down to in this section is specifically really about whether or not you think that the British Pakistani community needs to do more to police themselves.
Sure. On that question, I think the British Pakistani community can do more. I think we shouldn't see people taken back into the heart of the community when they've had offences. I think we need to ensure that nobody is driving a taxi if they've been, or a delivery van if they've been doing child grooming. On the other hand, we can't tar everybody with the same issue. And we remember when the IRA were at it, we couldn't say that every Irish person in Britain was responsible for the IRA's actions.
Let's be very clear. You cannot charge any community with implementing the law, because if you do, you'll get vigilantes. We have the police for that. What I'm trying to suggest is we should give the police the room to make sure these convictions happen. And I have to challenge my colleague here. So
friend, I hope, Sean.
Oh, friend. OK, friend. All but two of the recommendations were being implemented, and remember, it was us.
None of them had been done, Sean. None of them had been done. Fact.
You are totally ignoring. No, you know.
Well, I thought I was trying to listen to Sean.
Well, Well, you have listened to Sean, and I'm actually agreeing with what Sean is saying. The Conservative government completely accepted all 20 of the J recommendations.
And didn't implement a single... 18. They didn't implement a single one of them.
Being action.
You had the time, you didn't do it. Talk, tweet, no action against grooming gangs. And last night you voted down a bill that would have put measures in place that would have helped prevent tragedies like the Sarah Sharif tragedy. You voted against it because it's all talk, tweet.
Played party politics yesterday appallingly and...
Oh, come off it, Anna. Nice try to get reselected, but come off it.
All I'd say, if anybody doubts who's done what, look at the comments that Jess Phillips made and look at the action she isn't taking now.
Let's see the 18 actions put on the statute book.
Hey, look, fair enough.
I think we could do more than one thing at once, Matthew. That is...
Well, you didn't manage to do anything at once, did you? You didn't manage to do anything for 14 years because it's all talk.
All right, we need to get to, unfortunately, a break now, but thank you very much. It's a good start to the show, I feel.